Hi everyone, it's Aster, and tonight I want to share another story from my time as a student at Hershey. I'm still sick, so please excuse the voice. Tonight I want to talk about economics and what I learned about economics at Hershey. The second class I took, I think it was an occupations class. Yeah, occupations classes were our sciences. The second occupations class I took was microeconomy, and I took it during the the first winter quarter, around Christmas time, and I'll get to why in a bit. So I took this microeconomy class. Now we got taught, basic money theory, basic money handling. We got taught like supply and demand, like Econ 101 stuff, and this was in seventh grade, mind you. And we operated within the school's microeconomy, hence the class name. Now, the school, the farm school as we called it, had a 2 acre farm, 2 acre garden. I'm sorry, a 2 acre garden. We grew all sorts of veggies there. My favorites were the tomatoes. Loved picking tomatoes on a sunny day and eating them right off the vine. Fucking delicious. We had animals. We both raised animals just to have, like the goats. We didn't do anything with when I was there. A couple of years after I left, my sister actually, I think, helped run a dairy, goat dairy. I don't know if they're still doing that, but making cheese and getting milk and whatnot. Yeah, we raised goats, raised chickens for eggs. While I was there, I took a chickens class, and we that was the first year we started raising meat chickens, broiler chickens. We kept horses. I think they were the neighbors' horses. We couldn't ride those horses. We had to deal with a neighboring farm to ride their horses. We raised pigs while I was there. We raised cattle while I was there for beef, actually. Oh my gosh, I'm sure I'm missing some other animals. Let's see. We had bees. We had some fruit trees, not a full orchard, just all across the property. It was scattered, maybe like 10, 20 trees of like apples, pears, that sort of thing. And my favorite part of the microeconomy was the sugar bush. Love making maple syrup. It is one of my fondest memories, is sitting by the boiler watching the fire. And all of these products we sold either to the school, because the microeconomy was run separately by the school. It was totally self-sufficient, right? All of the money we raised from selling produce either at a local farmer's market, from CSA, community supported agriculture boxes, or we would sell produce and eggs and whatnot directly to the school. And that would get used in our lunches and for the boarding students for their dinners, breakfasts. So there's always farm fresh eggs, right? And it was completely self-sufficient. It was profitable even. One of my friends at the time, in ninth grade, the ninth graders all get managerial positions for the microeconomy. So I was sugar bush manager in my ninth grade year. I was in charge of making sure we made maple syrup that year, right? My friend, he was in charge of the finance. He was the finance manager. So he handled all the accounting. He kept the records. He cut checks when we had to cut checks, to buy hay for the horses, or buy a new not a boiler, because we had the box, the hot box where the fire was. The boiler on top. We had to get a new one of those because the guy before me, they burned it pretty bad, and I got all warped, and it was nasty. So we had to get a new one. Stuff like that. Money for like repairing the chicken coop. I did that in my chickens class. We put on a new, whatchamacallit, That's the part that carries the water away from the roof. We put in a drainage ditch because it would flood. French drainage ditch, with the pebbles and everything. So it was student run. There was, of course, assistance and guidance from the adults at the school, the teachers, because we had to learn how to do this. There was an apprentice program where the eighth graders would apprentice to a ninth grader in whatever they want to do. So, like my eighth grade year, I followed around my other friend who was the Sugar Bush manager for that year, and I learned how everything was done. I also took a Sugar Bush class. I don't remember if I did that. I think I did that in seventh grade. So I was involved in the Sugar Bush all 3 years, and because I loved it, I just loved it so much. Let's see. We also had the program barn. There was a fully fleshed out wood shop in there. We made things like Christmas ornaments and cutting boards, which we'd sell to the local community. Our big money maker every year was doing gift baskets and wreaths. We had a deal with a local Christmas tree farm, so we'd go buy a bunch of trees, cut them down, make wreaths out of them. We'd make our own candles. We had to buy in paraffin a lot of the time because we didn't have enough beehives to make sufficient wax. We did make beeswax candles, but not as many because we just didn't have as much wax. And so we did paraffin a couple of years and beeswax some other years, and I don't remember the specifics. But these gift baskets, would have a bottle of maple syrup, a little cutting board, I don't know, other random goodies. They would make big batches of like peppermint bark, which were absolutely delicious. That was always my favorite part of the gift baskets. And all this money would go to buying gardening supplies, right? Paying for animal food, paying for the animals' medical care, paying for like upkeep of the farm stuff, because the farm itself, right, was separate from the school portion, financially speaking. Our tuition went to paying teacher salaries, buying materials for the classrooms, right? Not to the animals. That whole part took care of itself. I'm sure there was some seed funding and maybe people make donations or whatever. I don't know entirely. My friend who is the finance manager would be the person to ask for that. So, we learned about this in the microeconomy class. The managers took care of it year round. The adults were always there to supervise. But it was a student-led and student-driven thing. The big thing when I was there, there was a lot of big things. We were going through a lot of changes during my time there. They wanted to build a new sugar bush because our sugar shack was a shack. It it was old. It was run down. The roof was good, so we weren't worried about it falling in on itself. But it was small. So we wanted to build like a new school building, and the basement would be the sugar bushing stuff. So we made plans for that, and we went and surveyed a couple sites, and got it all figured out. I don't know if they ever actually built it. I like to think that they did, but it's been a while since I've gone and visited. I'm, living in New York makes it tough. But this is like how a community-oriented economy would work. Like everyone pitched in with everything. Like when it was harvest time during our community service, you'd go out, you'd pick strawberries. I don't know if we grew strawberries. You'd pick beans, you'd pick tomatoes, pick the kale, the cucumbers, Swiss chard. I remember we grew a lot of Swiss chard. Never got the taste for it. Very beautiful leaves, though. And, and we canned it. I took a canning class. That was one of my biology classes, right? I learned how to, it was food preservation was the name of the class. So we learned about canning, we learned about salting, we learned about drying, all these cooking, all these different food preservation methods. We learned about, the microbiology of pathogens and toxins and like what's dangerous and what's not, and how to do things safely. I actually burned my thumb roasting bell peppers to can. Um, so we were very hands-on in our work. Um, and this was as an adolescent. Um, so when I got out into the wider world and started seeing how things are generally run in our capitalist society, the very insular, atomized, competitive markets that we have, right? It's it's every small business against every else small business. It didn't make a lot of sense. It seemed really wasteful in my eyes because, like, one, you had to have different people working at all the different places instead of like a shared pool of labor, right? Because like it's only harvest time part of the year. It's only sugar bushing time part of the year. It's only making ornaments time part of the year. And so you could have the full manpower of the student body, so like 50 kids and like 20 adults, right? Focused on any given task. Or have them distributed across a couple of tasks, as happened usually around Christmas time when we did so many different things to get all the gift baskets ready. And it was a lot less work on any individual because you didn't have to like be doing the thing 8 hours a day. Remind you, this is still a full school. Like we're getting a full like book education in history and maths and foreign language and all the other stuff you're supposed to learn in school. So this is done during community service hours, so like Friday afternoons, right? That was dedicated to community service. I've talked about that in a previous video. Or free time, people wanted to help out. Boarders usually end up doing a bit more work because they like needed something to do while they were at school because they lived there. I completely lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh, this video is getting long anyways. So let's wrap this up. Let's figure out a conclusion from here. See, now I feel very silly. Because I was just rambling and rambling about my memories. That's the takeaway from this. I mean, we know capitalism sucks, right? You listen to my content. I hope you know that. Like, it is the root of much of your misery in this world. So I guess the point is that there are alternatives, right? There are other ways of working, of running jobs, of making a living. Right? Because this farm, it wasn't a small business, right? Like, we were tens of thousands of dollars in revenue every year, right? We would usually float a surplus. I don't think we ever went into debt. At least while I was there, just more and more money. So we got to keep growing the operation, even with our kind of limited manpower and limited working hours, right? Yeah. That's the message. There's other options, right? You can work cooperatively to make money, and it'll be a lot easier on yourself. You'll have to do a lot less work to make the same gain, right? Because believe it or not, the amount of money you make, or the amount of your level of productivity is not directly proportional to the amount of hours you spend working on something, right? It's like the first 4 hours in a day are your best hours. You're going to be the most productive, and it starts to taper off after that. And by the time you get to 8 hours, the usual working day, it's nothing. You're tired. You want to go home. You want to rest. You've done too much. And so with the whole monetary system and wages and everything the way it is, like, yeah, no, I understand. You got to work your 8-hour day job. You got to work your 2 8-hour day jobs because rent's fucking absurd. Food's fucking absurd. But there are other ways of doing things, and it involves working together. So, this is my challenge to you. Find something in your life that you can turn into like a community event to make life easier on yourself, on your friends and family, on the people around you, on your community. So, my example, organized a weekly game night with my friends here. Every Thursday, we get together, we play board games, we have a good time, and we bring food, right? Sometimes one of us goes and picks up a pizza from Costco, right? Sometimes I cook like salmon and mashed potatoes and it's a big meal, right? Sometimes someone else cooks. Last time I think we picked up some frozen pizzas from Aldi. We like pizza. Right? So now here's a night a week that most of us don't have to worry about cooking, right? And you know, you might have to worry about cooking, but once a month on that Thursday, or on Thursdays, right? You know, because it goes around. We take turns. We take turns. Who brings the food? Who does the cooking? And it's all volunteer based. There's no schedule. There's no you're bringing food on this day and you're bringing food on that day. It's who's up for it, who's feeling it, who has the extra spoons, who has the extra money and time. You know, and like that's what I mean by organize, right? Is do stuff like that. Form those strong community bonds. And it will make your life so much more enjoyable and so much better. So much easier too. So please forgive the spotty lighting. Going for a nice walk out tonight. Please forgive the raspy voice, for I'm still sick. But I hope you learned something. Thank you for sticking with me on this long one. And I'll catch you next time. Love one another. Love yourself. Bye.